On the outside portrait, I'm gonna turn off the light first. Let's turn off the lights. We're gonna get the outside portrait. All right, we turn off the light right here. All right, first of all, to start with the portrait, outside portrait inspection, what we're gonna do, we're gonna be talking about the levelness of the truck. That's mean the truck should be level, the truck should not be leaning. If the truck is leaning, this you don't really have to say it, but I'm gonna say it. It's gonna cause either caused by flat tire on either side or front booking suspension on either side or a shifted cargo from the left or the right. All right, move on. We're going on the pop the hood. We're gonna start with the passenger side. All right, right here. Starting with my coolant reservoir. All right, the whole purpose of the portrait, it's just like this. When you start your portrait inspection, you're gonna look what type of item you're talking about. The first time you gotta say the name of the item, and you come with properly mounted and secure. That's why we like to say PMS. That stands for properly mounted and secure. And also we look at what type of the item, what type of material the item that we're talking about is made of. All right, this one is plastic, right? That's why I'm gonna start it like this. This is my coolant reservoir. It should be properly mounted and secure with nuts and bolts. Should not be cracked. It should not be broken. All right, and my cap in it should be present and hand tight. On the fluid level or the coolant level should be between full or low, or if I want to say minimum and maximum. And I should not see no leak coming from my coolant reservoir. Moving on from the coolant reservoir, we're going to be talking about the hoses. All my hoses on my passenger side, they all should be properly mounted and secure from end to end or at each end with coupling, with clamps, couplings and fittings. All right, they should have no abrasion, no bubbles, no cut, and I should not see any leak coming from none of my hoses. The reason I said see any leak, most of the hoses over here, they all carry fluid. They got fluid inside of them. The only hoses that doesn't have liquid fluid inside of them is the one that go on the air compressor, on the AC compressor. Okay, this we don't really talk about it. On this side right here, those are those two items we only talk about. Now we're going to the other side. So on the other side, when we start over here, we want to start with the leakage. We're going to talk about leak. We should not see no puddles, no fresh puddles, no leak on the ground, no mark. So if we do see puddles or mark on the ground or any liquid on the ground, it can come from the engine oil. All right, from the engine. It can come from my power steering fluid. It can come from my fuel. It can also come from my transmission fluid. All right, and also we should not hear no leak coming from my air compressor. All right, move on. We're gonna be talking about my dipstick. So the purpose of the dipstick in any type of engine is there to check the oil level, right? All we're gonna do that, we're gonna take it out, wipe it clean, put it inside, take it out back to see the level of the fluid, and the fluid level should be between minimum and maximum. So on the test, you don't really have to take it out. You just tell them if you were to do it, that's all you're gonna do it. Okay, so move on from the dipstick. We're gonna be talking about my power steering reservoir. All right, so my power steering reservoir should be properly mounted and secure with nuts and bolts. It should not be cracked, it should not be broken. My both caps should be present and hand tight. My fluid level should be between min and max, and I should not see any leak coming from my power steering reservoir. In my power steering reservoir, I got two hoses. See, one on top, the other one is underneath or at the bottom of it. So my two hoses should be properly mounted and secure at each end with no missing clamps and fittings, they should have no abrasion, no bubbles, no cut, and I should not see no leak coming from none of my hoses. And both of my hoses should be able to supply power steering or fluid to the system. All right, move on from the hoses. We're gonna be talking about my steering shaft or my steering column, either way you want to call it. This is my steering shaft or my steering column. It should be properly mounted and secure. It should not be cracked, bent, or broken. All right, it is held together or connected together at each end with two universal joints. I got two universal joints right here and two universal joints over here. Now those universal joints should be properly mounted and secure. They should not be cracked, they should not be broken, not missing any nuts or bolts, and they should all be free from debris, and they should all be lubricated. Now like I see over here, they need some grease. All right, they need some lube. All right, moving on from the U-joint. Now we're gonna be talking about the steering gearbox. This is my steering gearbox. It should be properly mounted and secure to the frame of my truck with nuts and bolts. It should not be cracked, it should not be broken, and I should not see no leak coming from my gearbox because it got power steering fluid flowing inside of it. All right, now over here, David, you can do this two-way. You can either do it compartmentalize it, do the rest of the steering component, or you can you do the inside one and work your way outside. All right, me personally, I like to start from the inside to come out, because when you do it like this, you're not gonna let nothing behind. It's gonna be really hard for you to forget something. So that's why from over here, I'm going for the spring mounts. All right, I got two spring mounts, one on the front, the other one is on the back over here. Okay, say my two spring mount, we call it spring mount, spring bracket, or spring anchors, whichever way you want to call it. Okay, they should be properly mounted and secured to the frame of my truck with nuts and bolts. They should not be cracked, they should not be broken. Now inside of the spring mount, we got a rubber bushing just like this one right here. All right, that rubber bushing should be properly mounted and secure. It should not be ripped, torn, frayed, cut, or dry rotted. It should be free from debris and properly lubricated. All right, move on from the bushing. Now we're going to be talking about the leaf spring. The leaf spring should be properly mounted and secured to my mount. They should not be cracked, they should not be broken, they should be properly aligned, they should not be shifted, and they also held together by my two U-bolts. All right, my U-bolts should be properly mounted and secure. They should not be cracked, they should not be broken, they should not be missing none of my 4 nuts and 4 washer that is present underneath. All right, move on. We're gonna be talking about my shock absorber. My shock absorber should be properly mounted and secure. It should not be cracked, bent, or broken, not missing any nuts or bolts, and I should not see no leak coming from my shock absorber because it got hydraulic fluid inside of it. Move on. Now I'm gonna be doing the rest of my steering component that we call the steering linkage. I'm gonna turn the steering wheel so you can see better. So my steering linkage consists of 5 components. All right, I got my pitman arm. This right here is my drag link. This is my upper control arm. Come over here. This right here is my lower control arm, and the bar in the middle is my tie rod. All right, so let me do it one more time. Steering linkage consists of 5 components. First one is my pitman arm. Second one is my drag link. Third one is my upper control arm. The fourth one is my lower control arm. The fifth one is my tie rod. So now I'm gonna put all of them together. I'm saying all of them should be properly mounted and secure. They should not be cracked, they should not be broken, they should not be missing any castle nut and cotter pin. All right, now my knuckles is where they're held together, where they make the contact, should not be loose or warm. That's all I said for the knuckles. All right, then I go for the bushings. I said the bushings should be properly mounted and secure. They should not be ripped, they should not be torn, they should not be cut or dry rotted. They should be free from debris and properly lubricated. In this case, they need some grease over here because they don't have none. Moving on from the bushings, Now I'm going to be doing the brake system. Started with my brake hose. Okay, my air brake hose should be properly mounted and secure from end to end with no abrasion, no bubbles, no cut. And I should not hear no leak coming from my brake hose. They should not be missing any couplings and fittings. And my air brake hose should be able to supply air to the chamber. All right, now my brake chamber should be properly mounted and secure with nuts and bolts. It should not be cracked, it should not be broken, and I should not hear no leak coming from my brake chamber. Now around my brake chamber I got my C-clamps. All right, this is my C-clamps right here. My C-clamps should be present and tight around my brake chamber. Move on from the C-clamps, we're going to be talking about the push rod and the slack adjuster. My push rod and my slack adjuster, both of them should be properly mounted and secure. They should not be cracked, they should not be broken, they should not be missing any pins. I got my clevis pin and my quarter key or quarter pin on it. Now with my brake release fully released, just like right now, I should not be able to pull no more than 1 inch, I don't think so, on my push rod. All right, this right here is the push rod. Like right now I can try, I should not be able to pull no more than 1 inch. If I pull more than 1 inch on it, something is wrong with it. All right, move on from the push rod and slack adjuster. Now we're going to be talking about my brake drum and my brake shoes. All we said for the brake drum and the brake shoes, we're going to talk about the contamination. And between the two of them, we should have no contamination, such as grease, oil, or snow, anything slippery, anything that can cause brake failure. All right, move on. We're going to be talking about my tire. My inner outer of my tire wall should be properly mounted and secure to my rims. Should have no abrasion, no bubbles, no cut. I should not hear no leak coming from my tire. This is my front tire. It cannot be no recap, and it should be evenly worn. The tread depth of my front tire should be no less than 4/32. Right, it can be more but no less. And also, Mr. Tester, if I have a tread depth gauge, this is where I should stick it to measure the tread depth on my tire. All right, move on. And also, we should not hear no leak coming from that tire. We're gonna be talking about my rims. My inner outer of my rims should be properly mounted and secure. It should not be cracked or broken. It should have no extra holes, no illegal welds in it. All right, moving on from the rims, we're gonna be talking about the lug nuts. Okay, so all my lug nuts should be properly mounted and secure. They should not be cracked, they should not be broken. Okay, my lug nuts should not be too tight. If they were too tight, I should see crack or metal shaving over here. And they should also not be too loose. If they were too loose, I should see wash trail or corrosion around it. And also, they should have no broken stud, no elongated hole. All right, move on. We're gonna be talking about the hub oil seal that's inside this. Should be properly mounted and secure. Should not be cracked or broken, not missing any nuts or bolts. And I should not see any leak coming from my hub seal. And if I can see through the cap, this is where I should check if I got enough or adequate fluid in it. Move on from the hub seal. Now we're gonna be talking about my valve stem. My valve stem should be properly mounted and secure. Should not be cracked or broken. The cap should be present and hand tight. And I should not hear no leak coming from my valve stem. Also, Mr. Tester, if I have a tread depth gauge, this is where I should stick it to check my tire. If I have a tire pressure gauge, I'm sorry, this is where I should stick it to check my tire pressure. Move on. This right here, we call it traffic monitoring device, or we also call it mirror. They should be properly mounted and secure to the bracket. They should not be cracked, chipped, or broken, not missing any screws. Now, my bracket should be properly mounted and secure to my door. Should not be cracked or broken, not missing any screws. Move on from the bracket. Now we're gonna be talking about both my fuel tanks, 2 fuel tanks, and my DF tank. I got one over here, another one on the other side, plus my DF tank. So my fuel tank and my DF tank should be properly mounted and secure. They should not be cracked or broken. So I should have no major dent on my fuel tanks. So my fuel cap and my DF cap should be also present and intact. Inside of the cap we got a rubber seals. That rubber seal should be properly mounted and secure. Alright, should not be ripped, torn, frayed, cut, or rotted, and we should not see no leak coming from that cap in case if the seal is broken. Alright, and also mention I should not see no leak coming from my fuel tank and my DF tank. Alright, now I'll be talking about my fuel line and my DF line. The hoses, they should be properly mounted and secure. They should have no abrasion, no bubbles, no cut. They should not be missing any couplings and fittings. And I should not see no leak coming from either my fuel line or my DF line. And both should be able to supply DF and fuel to the system. Alright, move on from this. Now we're gonna be talking about my battery box. My battery box should be properly mounted and secure, should not be cracked, should not be broken. Now we're gonna talk about the battery inside of the battery box. We also said the batteries should also be properly mounted and secure. They should not be cracked, they should not be broken. Alright, I should not see no leak coming from the batteries because they got acid on it. And also we're gonna be talking about the wire and the terminal on the batteries. They should all be properly mounted and secure. They should not be ripped, torn, frayed, cut, or dry rotted. They should have no illegal tape on them. No wire exposed, and they also should not be missing any nuts or bolts. They should have no excessive corrosion. All right, move on from the battery. Now we're gonna be talking about the flow of my trailer. Okay, the flow should be properly mounted and secure. Should not be cracked. It should not be broken. It should be strong enough to support the weight of the cargo. All right, now we're going for the cross member, right? My cross member should be properly mounted and secure. They should not be cracked or broken. Not missing any nuts or bolts. Now I'm going for my frame. You remember how I keep saying properly mounted and secure for everything, right? The frame is the only thing we don't say properly mounted and secure, because the reason why it's everything, it's mounted and secure to the frame. All right, when you purchase the frame, we just said frame should not be cracked, should not be bent, should not be broken, should not have no extra holes, no illegal weld. That's it. We don't say properly mounted and secure for the frame. Move on from the frame. Now we're gonna be talking about my DOT tape on the side of my trailer. My DOT tape on the side of my trailer should be properly mounted and secure. They should not be ripped, torn, frayed, cut, or dry rotted. It should be clean and serviceable, and they should cover at least 50% on the side. It can be more, but no less than 50. All right, let's go on the back. You do the same. Said my DOT tape on the back of my trailer should be properly mounted and secure. Should not be ripped, torn, frayed, cut, or dry rotted. All right, over here is covered. It shouldn't be covered. All right, and it should at least have 100% on the back, and it should also be clean and serviceable. All right, this right here is the entire portrait inspection of the Class B vehicle.